Halal fraternity representing NIHT to try and guide us on an annual basis. We have something, and inshallah, I hand over to MOULANA.
Assalamu alaikum to Samir and to the participants as well. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi is not too good where I am, and what happens is with the video, it just causes a distortion in terms of the voice as well. I hope you can hear me clearly now.
Alhamdulillah for now, alhamdulillah, shukr, no issues on the sound.
Okay, that's good. So it's clear. All right, so just to kick off and looking at the questions you asked in terms of what does halal actually mean. So that particular question, it does not only pertain to food, but in fact, it's something that pertains to the entire life of a Muslim. So halal, the word halal itself means that which is permissible. And in terms of food, we talk about halal and tayyib as well as pure. So maybe if I can give you an example, if we mix milk and vinegar together and maybe a bit of juice and put a bit of sand in that, technically the item is pure, but it would not be, it would be halal, but not entirely enticing for consumption, would not be pure. If you understand what I'm saying. So the concept of halal, like I said, pertains to the entire lifestyle of a Muslim, where there are certain acts which are permissible and certain acts which are not. For instance, there are certain people with whom one can make nikah, and some that one would not be. It would not be permissible to make nikah with them. And if we talk about perhaps clothing items, like for instance, pure silk would not be permissible for men to wear, or gold would not be permissible for men to wear, whilst it is permissible for ladies. So in that sense there, it's all encompassing, and it's something that is generally understood by Muslims in terms of what is halal for us and what is not halal.
MOULANA, I think, like you said, halal doesn't only, it's not specifically related to the topic of tonight, but covers exactly a lot of other points which MOULANA's tried to briefly come in. Obviously, I tried to keep, like MOULANA said, this question session answer somebody, because he can maybe try to help us understand where the participants, including ourselves and the children, are asking. So I've combined the two questions that were sent from Nabila to say what is halal friendly, and is there such a thing as halal friendly? And the next question, I think, goes with it. How is it different from halal, So,
yeah. Okay. So
the new halal friendly concept is something that is now taken by storm in various ways, So maybe MOULANA can just try to help us understand, is there such a thing, and what is the understanding of halal friendly, and where does it maybe come from?
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask that in terms of the first question, is there any questions from the participants in terms of question number one?
Floor is open to participants. What's Sister Aisha, Muhammad Zairuddin, Masood Bhai, Abdul Bhai? Anyone want to ask any questions on question one or clarity?
Yeah, I think we can perhaps proceed to question number two if there are no further questions. So the term halal friendly, it's often used by non-Muslim eating establishments, and sometimes it's with good intention, where they wish to cater for diverse clients, and in this case for the Muslim client. However, there's a major and a big difference between what is halal friendly and actual halal. So if an establishment has a halal certificate, There is most often a system of halal certification that has been followed. And in terms of that system, it is put into place where the entire supply chain is monitored in order to ensure that the end user consumes a halal meal. So, if we talk about halal friendly, perhaps they would handle pork in a kitchen, but purchase halal meat or halal chicken without taking into cognizance the possibilities of contamination that can take place in these establishments. So, when we look at firstly contamination itself, uh, when we talk about genetic testing, and this is something that an internationally accredited organization like the NIHT has to do. We work with labs that are accredited to do these type of tests. And when we talk about genetic testing, there are actually two types of genetic testing that can take place. One is where it's a normal test, and the other one is called genetic sequencing. And the second one, genetic sequencing, would be able to tell you exactly what percentage of genetics is found in a particular item. Now, the sensitivity with these tests is that assuming somebody has handled pork and that person then handles maybe a halal sausage, and that sausage in turn is tested, it is quite possible that you would find that the pork genetics would be found on that halal sausage. And it's that type of, it's that level of testing that takes place. And this is something that we've actually found, uh, where genetic sequencing was done to actually disprove certain claims that were made against a halal establishment. And this is about 10 to 15 years ago. So contamination, can take place at really a minute level. And when we find that these type of establishments who claim that they are halal friendly, most often, like I said, with good intention, without knowing the dangers that lie within such a claim. So, as Muslim consumers, it's important that we don't purchase our food items where these claims are made, but rather that you have to look at the halal certificate that is issued, and to make to ensure that it's a reputable organization that has issued the certificate for that eating establishment. I don't. Is there any other questions that would come out of from this number two?
Um, Okay, so just can we make it clear to the participants, inshallah? Maulana is here to discuss it not only with me. The intention is obviously to have the floor open to everybody that's also online. I know you might not be used to speaking online, but like Maulana says, please, if you want to add on, say something, will be appreciated. Your contribution will make a difference, inshallah. But from my side, I think Maulana, you've covered that points. It's just now up to the participants, or else I'll leave it in Molana's hands to take us forward from here and give more direction, inshallah.
So I think just to continue, right? The looking at the third and fourth question, or rather the second and the fourth question, is essentially the same thing. The perhaps we can go into the process of halal certification and what it entails when it comes to to maybe establishments that serve meals and so forth, like restaurants and franchise stores. So when that certification takes place, what we as certification bodies ensure is that the supply chain is certified as halal. So in other words, any product that comes into the store has to be certified halal also by a reputable organization. And most often, in terms of meat and chicken supply, we ensure that it is a local halal certified product that comes into these stores. And this extends to other products such as the bread and whatever desserts or any other product that is used in the store. And when we look at the larger franchise stores like KFC and Nando's and so forth, they will ensure that their supply chain is actually certified halal. And in terms of those, vehicles, etc., uh, that supply the products to these stores, that there are systems in place that to make sure that halal products are supplied without any contamination.
Okay, I think maybe Molana, the next question that Mohammed Zebrin has asked has been answered. The difference between halal and halal friendly in your explanations above. Um, I'm quite sure I never must listen. So can we go to the next two questions I see that I've also put together? Um, but Molana's obviously has covered quite a bit of things in between the discussion. So these questions are maybe kind of answered, but I'll just repeat them and read them out. What are the concerns with halal friendly and what are the benefits of halal friendly, if there are any? But I think that has been covered. But unless Molana feels something else can be said, then I can go to the next three, which is something interesting that has been asked that I would like to ask on. So I don't know, can we leave those two questions out or is it fully
So,
covered?
no, I think we've actually covered those questions. But in terms of where when one consumes, there are certain extreme situations where there is no. This happens when you travel to overseas, and however, in my experience, there's always halal food that is available, and you have to ensure that you find these places, and most often the best way to do so is to be in contact with the local masajid or look at what is being sold in that vicinity. And most often you will find that there are halal establishments that are available. So in terms of halal friendly, there is no real benefit to it.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I'm going to check those other few questions that I put together, but maybe if we finish this, then it can just give us a bit more time to add on something else that isn't in our mind and in this question. So I'll just read the last three or five put together, and either we can split them up, or Molana can decide to just cover up the questions as it is from there. Like, uh, okay, so I've got question 7, 8, 9, or maybe pointers that I put in there, and then the last two. So 7, 8, 9 talks about elaboration of halal friendly in the tourism, and factors influencing halal tourism, and then the awareness of purchasing halal food amongst non-Muslim consumers, and then the awareness of selling halal food among non-Muslim owners. And then obviously the last two questions, chain stores, which I think Molana has covered in between, selling halal foods, or yeah, I think that has been covered in between. And then sending who should we ask for clarification. I think that's maybe in a nutshell. If I put these questions together or these points together, I think maybe Molana can try to give us some advice and guidance or talk on something from there.
So essentially, the question of halal friendly or halal tourism has become a major talking point globally. And, there are certain countries like Malaysia that place a lot of emphasis on this. And there are moves, in terms of establishing halal friendly tourism, and, ensure that it sort of complies with, the needs of Muslim travelers, and, Sharia is basically followed. So in this sense here, that you'll find certain, establishments, and for an example, you'll find certain hotels in Malaysia that, the all meals that are served are totally halal. And these are five-star hotels that, under normal circumstances in Western countries would insist on having bacon and pork in their breakfast and so forth. So this will be excluded, and also they'd not have any alcohol on the premises. So that, you find certain, how shall we call them, like, tourist attractions that would cater for Muslims, that would have Jamaat Khanas available, wudu facilities and so forth. So there is quite a big market for that. And, even in South Africa, with the amount of Middle Eastern visitors that we do get coming into the country, there are hotels and there are premises that make these type of facilities available for Muslims. So there's definitely a market for that. In terms of the questions of the awareness of purchasing halal food among non-Muslim consumers, we find that the large majority of non-Muslims, they're not too concerned about the product being certified halal. Maybe you'd find a biscuit or cheese or whatever it is that is certified halal, and they don't pay too much attention to it because they understand that it is a statement to the Muslim consumers that something is permissible for consumption. However, to a lot of non-Muslims also, the concept of halal is also associated with food safety and food quality, and they assume that something that is certified as halal has a higher quality and is, it's basically a better produced product as such. And we found this amongst the non-Muslims as well. However, at the same time, we find that there is also a pushback against halal certification of food. And this is a minority Christian group that exists in the country. And every now and again, they will come out with a video or a statement or whatever the case may be, to essentially make certain claims against food items being certified as halal. But when we look at the major retailers in the country like Pick n Pay and Woolworths and Checkers, they understand the market, number one, and having items on the shelves that are certified as halal for the consumers that would need to have halal certified products. In terms of the ninth questions, the awareness of selling halal food among non-Muslim owners, you find that they are definitely aware of the market and the potential of the Muslim market, not only in South Africa, but, on a global level. So many non-Muslim owners of businesses would look at having products certified as halal. That's if they manufacture. And then obviously, we as an organization, we don't certify non-Muslim owned restaurants and franchise outlets. And we can take a classical example, the Pigalle store in Sandton City, which is certified by the NIHT. If it was not Muslim owned, the store would not be certified as halal. And although they claim that they had a large Muslim clientele that were coming and eating the prawns there. Is there any other questions as far as this is concerned, Samir?
No, I think this basically is what we have available on our side here. Just want to add on the travel side, my experience being in the travel field, the business as well. So the concept of halal friendly has come up, but there's been a group of South African travel and tourism companies that are working together, where we actually promoting halal, totally halal places. within South Africa and internationally as well. So obviously the start has been locally, and like I said, the tourism is obviously growing, and we can actually now pick up the phone and speak to our Muslim people to try and give us places within this country, a list of places where you got hotels and venues and places for entertainment that are totally halal certified, properly certified, you know. But inshallah, if I get more information later on, I'll try to share it first with Maulana for verification purposes also, and then with our people. But that's from the business side that I'm picking up as well.
See, maybe it also be, as if you're talking specifically on the question of tourism and so forth, uh, it would be a good idea to get maybe Altaf Kazi to maybe join on one of the weeks and do a talk on this concept.
Okay, okay, I'm making a note of that. Maulana, I think it's now up to you. In your hand, like I said, I've covered. I looked at the time. I didn't want to bring in too many questions because sometimes, you know, I don't want to overdo it. But up to you. You can check if you want to add on anything or leave it to the participants one more time. You know, if there's any questions, any clarity, any other things that you want advice on or guidance on or clarity on, please, we've got Maulana. We're very fortunate. Maulana's made himself available. The CEO of NIHT, I must stress, is very busy traveling and he's given us his time. Let's make use of the time, inshallah. Masood Bhai, I know you always have a question to ask Maulana, so to raise your time online, please ask him what you feel is necessary with regards to the topic, if it's possible, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, Maulana and participants. I think so. To summarize it, would it be correct to say that the halal-friendly stores are not permissible for Muslims? Would that be a good summary?
Look, that's definitely the case, especially that within the country we have many stores that are certified as halal. And, you know, the supply chain to these stores is also certified, and therefore it would not make, it doesn't make sense that as a Muslim consumer, that you would go out to a place that claim they are halal friendly. So they may be selling pork in the same kitchen, or they make a pork dish in the kitchen, but they have halal chicken for the Muslims. So who checks and makes sure that there's no contamination that's taking place at that in that particular kitchen? There is nobody. So therefore, it is best to avoid such instances and these type of places.
Yeah, well, that is my understanding of the halal friendly. That it's absolutely a no-go for for consumption.
You see, unfortunately, this danger exists to a large extent, especially amongst our youth, and this is something that we've picked up on. That concern about what we consume. Oh, we having a muffin, and that's it, but the place is selling some pork and they've got some non-halal there. These are instances and situations that we need to teach our youth especially and our kids to avoid.
Correct, yeah. I agree with that, definitely.
By any one of the other participants like to ask something, share something?
What is the question about chain stores selling food?
Okay, some of the chain stores nowadays obviously have got prepared meals that they're selling. People go buy lunch or then they go for pastries, the bakery side and all of those things. So the question on the chain store selling food, if I'm not mistaken, I think some of the places do sell, like I seen the spas selling like chicken, like proper roast chicken and chips and all of those type of things. Uh, Maybe like you've covered it, I think, at the beginning to say that these stores will be certified, but maybe that was the frozen foods. But this is now actual cooked foods on premises. So how do you deal with this? Will this be kind of also classified in this category of halal friendly, because even if they put it separate or not?
No, this again, if you're talking in a chain store, if you take, so the chain store would have a deli section. Okay, so there again, if the deli itself and the chain store, like let's take Pick and Pay in Lenasia, uh, that's the only Pick and Pay in the country, the only Pick and Pay store that does not have any alcohol, does not have any pork, not even in a can, on the shelves. There's no enterprise or anything on the shelves, but so the meat section is certified halal, the deli is certified halal, and the bakery is certified halal. Now, that's the only store like this in the country. So, if you and it's a Pick and Pay corporate store. If you talk about the stores in Cape Town, they would have halal and non-halal in the same store. So that would be certified by the MJC. However, we didn't allow it, and this store is being certified by us for about 20 years now. And it's operating just fine, and one of the highest in terms of turnover, one of the highest in the country. And if you go to such a deli, then obviously you can purchase the meals quite comfortably without any fear. Likewise, we've got the same situation at the Food Lovers Market in Lenasia. And we've got a spa like that in Omondi, Xavier, which is now that's a Muslim-owned spa. And you can find, like, say, if you talk about the spa here in Erasmia, that's owned by Babu Kismet. So they'll ensure that whatever chicken or whatever meals they're using there is certified halal. The question is, if you're going to for example, the spa at the Mall of 55, or I think, well, what's it called, Route 55 Mall, or whatever the case may be, you obviously cannot purchase out of that deli because it's not certified as halal, and there is no Muslim supervision there.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. So I know there was once a place, it could be in Lodium, if I'm not mistaken, the OKs. They did have, the OK owners now currently are not Muslim.
Mm.
They had a section where I think the Ubares or somebody was selling halal food, if I'm not mistaken. I said totally under correction here. So how does that differ now? It is a chain store, but within the chain store, they've got people selling halal foods there. But then that means they also need to be certified, obviously, going through the proper channels.
The channels, but look, I mean, if it's you take a store like Moidin's, they don't hold any certification, or you talk about Akalwayas or whatever, the responsibility and the onus is on the Muslim owner to ensure that they are using exclusively items that are certified as halal. So we need to take note and cognizance of that as well.
Yeah.
And so if you find that it is, say, within a chain store, and there's a Muslim there, and you know the person and he owns it, and you've got confidence in him, then obviously it's at your discretion that one would purchase from him.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So
Well,
how can
I
we
think
go
the
on? Yeah.
last question that's there, obviously you have covered in between, but um, I know it's the same question that the people, especially like our children, will ask. I mean, who do you really ask with regards to, or get clarification with regards to establishments, and that you've covered that at the beginning. But I think the important thing is, maybe I want to change this question a little bit around to say, how do we maybe educate ourselves? When I'm saying how do we educate ourselves, a simple question like what you said, going into a store and say, show us your certification, who's it from, where is it from? I don't know. I know it's being done, but will that actually help change the mindset of not only our children, ourselves, and everybody else. Because naturally, you just walk into a store or place and then it says it's halal. Sometimes people check the certificates, sometimes people don't check the certificates, and if we do have, obviously, I think by now, majority of the people should know that you have organizations like NIHT, NGC, and everybody else to ask. So the question is maybe how are we going to turn this around to say we must rather be more prepared and educated when it comes to issues like this?
Look, again, uh, and this is something that we need to do within our homes and perhaps lead by example as well, is that if we are not sure, we walk into an establishment or, it's been newly certified or whatever the case may be, it's most often advertised on social media. And we've just had an issue in, I think it's Greenside, where there was fraudulent use of the NIHT logo. And then we've come out with the announcement, it's on all our social media, to say that the establishment used our logo without being certified as halal. And since it was a Muslim-owned place, further legal action was not taken based on the explanation that was provided by the owner of the store as to why the logo was used. But, if it's an establishment that is non-Muslim owned, then we do take measures in terms of ensuring that, the logo is not used by non-Muslims, and it essentially, the NIHT logo is a trademark and protected trademark.
Well, I'd like to say thanks to the participants and especially to you for making yourselves available. Maybe you can give some closing comments and make a final dua for us all, inshallah, and the people that are on Hajj. Allah Pak make it easy for them and we can do a closure, inshallah.
In closing, I think, it's important that we as families and individuals be vigilant in terms of where we eat and what we eat, and to ensure that what we are consuming is always halal. It's not something that should be taken lightly, and obviously it affects every aspect of our lives, and our worship is affected by what we consume. And we have spoken about this before. So the onus is on us as individuals and families and leaders of our families to make sure we consume halal. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وصحبه وبارك وسلم وصل عليه. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من كل ذنب ونتوب إليه. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معاصيتك وما تبلغنا جنتك. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وصحبه وبارك وسلم وصل عليه. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakallah one more time to Maulana and again to the participants. Inshallah, we continue next week. Keep us in your duas, Maulana, and inshallah till next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.